South Korea confirms more cases, total now 15. 3 more patients have been confirmed infected with coronavirus in South Korea, bringing the country's total to 15. The South Korean Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (KCDC) announced in a press release. The KCDC said a 28-year-old man had tested positive. He was among the 368 repatriated South Koreans who arrived from Wuhan on a charter flight on January 31st. The rest of the evacuees have tested negative for the coronavirus. A 40-year-old Chinese woman also tested positive. She was already in quarantine as she is related to another patient who contracted the virus. The people of Wuhan have become outcasts in their own country. In China, Wuhan used to be known as a city of cherry blossoms, an economic engine of the central heartland, and the birthplace of a century-old revolution that brought down the country's last imperial dynasty. But now, the metropolis of 11 million in Hubei province has become the face of a deadly coronavirus outbreak, a stigma the people of Wuhan increasingly find themselves unable to shake off. With the death toll surging past 314,300 cases confirmed, authorities across the country have activated the highest public health emergency response, stepping up screening of arrivals from Wuhan. Fears over the continuing spread of coronavirus have also fueled resentment and discrimination. Some have become outcasts in their own country, shunned by hotels, neighbors, and in some areas placed under controversial quarantine measures. Wuhan officials estimate about 5 million people had left the city for the annual Lunar New Year holiday before authorities cancelled all outbound flights, trains and buses in an unprecedented lockdown on January 23rd. If you've been traveling in mainland China, you can't enter Australia. Australia has started denying entry to all travelers who have come from or transited through mainland China. The new rules started Saturday. However, if you're an Australian citizen, permanent resident, or their immediate family, or an aircrew member who has been using appropriate protective equipment, you're exempt. Prime Minister Scott Morrison said Saturday that all travelers from mainland China allowed into Australia had to be quarantined for 14 days. He added that the government raised the travel advice warning to level 4, the highest, meaning they're now advising people not to travel to mainland China. The warning aims to address the issue of the human-to-human transmission of the coronavirus. Australia's ban followed an earlier move by the U.S. Friday to deny entry to foreign nationals who have traveled in China in the last 14 days. Any U.S. citizen who has been in the Hubei province in the last 14 days will be subject to up to 14 days of mandatory quarantine upon return to the United States. Flying drones instruct people around China to wear masks outdoors. Villages and cities in China have resorted to flying drones with speakers to patrol streets and scold people not wearing masks in public amid the coronavirus outbreak, according to Chinese state media. Both Xinhua and the Global Times have published videos of drones warning various people in rural areas that masks need to be worn in these times. The drones were seen scolding an elderly lady and chasing a child down the road. The videos have gone viral on Chinese social media and have been praised as a novel way to raise awareness of the disease. Global Times reported that local officials had been putting up slogans in an effort to get communities to stay at home during the epidemic and to avoid people gathering together to slow and prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Across China, more than 300 people are dead from coronavirus. A total of 304 people had died from coronavirus in mainland China by the end of Saturday, according to the country's National Health Commission. So far, there have been no deaths outside the mainland. The vast majority of the deaths have occurred in the province of Hubei, of which Wuhan is the capital. Wuhan, home to 11 million people, is the epicenter of the outbreak. The total number of confirmed cases in mainland China is now 14,380, an increase of 2,590 from Friday's total. Apple has closed all 32 stores in mainland China. Apple is temporarily closing all of its stores in China because of the coronavirus outbreak. According to Apple's website, all 32 stores will be closed until February 9th. The website still works for customers in China. Here is what Apple told CNN Business in a statement. People in China are panic buying herbal remedy. But experts question whether it makes a difference. Over the past few days, there's been a question dominating Chinese social media: could a traditional Chinese medicine help fight the Wuhan coronavirus? The questions came after state-run Xinhua news agency reported Friday that the Shanghai Institute of Materia Medica and the Wuhan Institute of Virology had discovered that the Shenanglian oral liquid, a popular combined herbal remedy commonly used to relieve some symptoms such as fever, cough, and sore throat, could be used to inhibit the deadly virus. But others aren't convinced. They think one of the country's most influential state media outlets could be promoting pseudoscience and false hope. Social media users, including numerous medical experts, questioned whether the findings were supported by clinical evidence from treating coronavirus patients. Others, somewhat more cynically, wondered if this was a concerted effort to promote certain herbal products to boost their makers' share prices ahead of the Chinese stock market's reopening Monday. Nevertheless, many others didn't appear to need confirmation. Posts on Weibo, China's Twitter-like platform, purportedly showed people lining up at night outside pharmacies across China to buy Shenanglian. Such was the apparent demand sparked by the notice that the compound formula sold out on some stores on China's e-commerce platform Taobao. Here is what you need to know about the coronavirus. There's still a lot we don't know about the coronavirus, and scientists internationally are racing to gather data and develop a treatment. Here is what we can tell you so far. Is there a cure? Not at the moment. Researchers have successfully grown the virus in a lab, an important step towards developing a vaccine, but it could be a year or more until it's available. What are the symptoms? Coronavirus symptoms can look like the flu, fever, cough, trouble breathing. If you show these symptoms and recently went to China, or have been in contact with someone who visited, experts advise going to the doctor. How does the virus spread? The virus is thought to spread from person to person through respiratory droplets emitted by coughing or sneezing, but it's not clear exactly when a person becomes contagious. There is currently no evidence that the virus is airborne, meaning, for instance, it doesn't travel across a large room. Who is at risk of infection? People of all ages can be infected with the virus, but older people and those with pre-existing medical conditions are especially vulnerable to severe complications. How can I protect myself? Take the same precautionary measures you would during flu season. Wash your hands often with soap and water, cover your nose and mouth when you sneeze or cough, avoid close contact with people or large gatherings, and wear a face mask. Is it safe to travel? Airlines have suspended flights, and thousands of foreign citizens in the Chinese city of Wuhan have been evacuated back to their home countries. Many countries, including the U.S., have advised against travel to China. Major U.S. airlines expand flight cancellations to China and Hong Kong. American Airlines and Delta Airlines announced more flight cancellations to China on Saturday as coronavirus cases continued to rise. Delta said it will suspend flights between the United States and China starting on Sunday until at least April 30th, according to a press release. That's 4 days earlier than it had initially planned. Delta's last China-bound flight left on Saturday, February 1st, and its final returning flight from China to the United States leaves on Sunday. Delta moved the date up after the U.S. State Department warned that people should not travel to China due to concerns about the spread of coronavirus, which was first discovered in Wuhan, Hubei province, in December. United Airlines, which announced that it will suspend flights to Beijing, Chengdu and Shanghai from February 6, is also reducing flights from the U.S. to Hong Kong.